Welcome to the legendary Verified Investing YouTube channel and the Golden Nugget, where we talk about gold and the metals markets every single Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you're here on the Verified Investing YouTube channel, the Drew Wolfer YouTube channel, the Verified Investing Twitter, the Drew Wolfer Twitter, wherever you're from, we appreciate you showing up. We wouldn't have a platform without you, so much love to you all. Now, let's talk about exactly what this show is and how it is structured. So first and foremost, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to gauge gold. We're going to do TA on gold, talk about the nice trade that played out extremely well for us last week. So if you were here last week, great trade. Secondarily, we're going to do the silver snapshot, which is the exact same thing, except for just silver. Then we're going to get into the commodity compass, which tells you everything that's happening inside of the gold and silver markets and metals markets, period, right now. Then we do a special segment. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm a verified pro trader on verifiedinvesting.com with an over 80% documented win rate on just gold, silver, Bitcoin, done a few different ones, right? This is where inside of the Golden Nugget, which is our knowledge bank, we actually give you a golden nugget from that training that I brought out called the Golden Opportunity with Verified Investing, so you can figure out, hey, do I want to be in this training? Do I want to learn technical analysis or not? Then we get into two special reports, and then we will get into the economic calendar. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the gold analysis. So let's go over here and let's gauge gold. Okay, the one thing I want to bring to the light just really quick before we get into anything, and that means the trades from last week that absolutely killed it. I want to make sure that everybody understands that we are in an ascending triangle right now. If you look at this, this is an ascending triangle. This is a bearish pattern that could break down. So you really have to uphold the bottom end of this trend line right here at about 3,350 bucks, and really your ultimate is going to be at about 33.75. So we're going to get down to the hourly chart. We're going to talk about our previous trades that we gave out last week, okay? And that's actually the trade I'm going to give you in just a second. So sorry about that. Now, first and foremost, we were talking about how this could actually, this looked a lot like a bear flag, right? So this looked like a bear flag. And I basically said, hey, bear flags can always turn and get invalidated and then turn into what is called a three rising peaks pattern, which is this right here. So if you break up above here, this is the three rising peaks pattern, actually nullifying the bear flag and then telling you we are going to be moving up. That is a bullish pattern. So last week, we talked about intersecting the bottom end of this trend channel right here. And as you can see, we got our perfect entry. We got our perfect exit. Target acquired. Target absolutely smashed. Everybody killed it on that trade. Congratulations to anybody that took this trade. But let's talk about what we could be looking for this week, okay? So we also were talking about if we break down from this channel, you would just be shorting. So that is the same thing that's happening this week. The same exact trade is the short, right? If you break from this channel, you break down below it, bang, you are entering shorts. Now, if you bounce from this channel or if you bounce right here, this is where you got to start thinking about entering longs, okay? And that is where we had our previous kind of double top right here, as you can see, and obviously right here, okay? So this is a pretty good range right here to start entering, and you can enter all the way down to the bottom end of this trend channel, but obviously you want to set your stop loss just outside of here, because once you get under here, this is very bearish for gold because you're breaking a 7 or 8 month uptrend, okay? Secondarily, the golden pocket and the 0.5 fib intersect right here with the 200 moving average and the 100 moving average, okay? So the $33.75 to about $3,360 range is a pretty good range to start thinking about longs. Now that we know what we're doing inside of gold, let's get into the silver snapshot and let's talk about the trade that we had last week for silver, okay? And we're going to go down here to the hourly chart and show you exactly what we're talking about, all right? So let me zoom in just a little bit and we're going to get some of this other stuff off of here because that is giving you some spoilers into what we are going to be talking about here in just a bit, okay? So let's get this off of here and let's get this off of here. Now, we talked about front running this or bouncing from this 200 moving average. We actually didn't bounce from the 200 moving average, and this is where we were wanting to take our ultimate long, right? So there was also the 1.618 Fibonacci right here, which was, bang, this one right here, boom, the 1.618 Fibonacci extension level. And if we upheld that as support, which as you can see, we did, triple bottom, we never confirmed a candle below it, right? And we got sucked right back up into it. Once you bounced and front ran this 200 moving average, guess what you did? You just entered long at that 1.618 fib, okay, which was very simple, very easy trade to take, all right? And as you can see, bang, bang, that trade played out extremely well to the upside, all the way up to the top end of this trend channel. Now, we have gotten over the top end of this trend channel. So what are the trades now? Well, now that we know this one played out extremely well for us, we have two trades. You long or short here, okay? At the top end of this trend channel. You lose the trend channel, you short all the way down here to this previous consolidation zone. That gives you, I think it's like a 3.5 risk to reward. Obviously, leave a runner because you could run it all the way down to here, right? Or you could run it down to this previous consolidation zone that's right over here, and that would be like a 10x risk to reward. Secondarily, you can then enter longs if you catch a bounce here. We have confirmed above this channel. Now, if you catch a bounce here, you would be targeting about $40, and then ultimately, we would be targeting about $44 right up here, okay? And that is from a trend-based fib that we're going to talk about inside of the Golden Nugget, the knowledge bank section of this video. So now, let's get into all of our other things that are happening inside of the market right now, and I have them all pulled up on my screen. That way I can be cognizant of your time and, you know, at the very least, respectful of your time. So this is what's called the commodity company. So we're going to talk about what is actually driving the gold and metals markets right now. So trade, tariffs, and deadlines, right? So we have the deadline coming up August 1, which we'll talk about, you know, here in a little while. But we've been talking, the US has, to Japan, Europe, and China for, you know, trades and tariff, you know, negotiations, right? We did reach an agreement with Japan, 15% reciprocal tariffs, and that goes for everything, you know, that caps Japanese imports to us at 15%, which is down from the 25% that we were threatening, and then up, you know, obviously from the 10% global tariff. And then this actually applies broadly to auto sales, auto parts, all that stuff. And in return, Japan is going to infuse the US economy with $550 billion. So $500 billion in investment with 90% of the profits. We got the better end of that deal, right? Going to the United States, and they're going to be opening their markets to U.S. cars, trucks, rice, agriculture, and easing their safety and test requirements, okay? Then we have our Fed policy signals. So Fed Governor Waller actually is advocating for a rate cut, okay? And sooner rather than later, okay? So we saw gold pump on that news when the Fed rate or the Fed minutes came out, okay? And this is giving us expectations for dovish Fed action where the dollar will go down and, you know, gold will pump whenever these sooner rather than later rate cuts could potentially come in. Now, China and Russia also have a metals alliance that has kind of really created a geopolitical tailwind, okay? So Russia actually set a record, and we'll talk about this in a segment to come, on precious metal exports. And guess where those exports went? To China, their brother inside of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, right? So we're going to talk about this, but this is basically bolstering the demand for gold, okay? Now, before we get into all of that, I want to get into our knowledge bank. This is where I give you a golden nugget from the golden opportunity to kind of give you a preview of what's in there. This is a 14-hour long training that literally, dude, you can use this in any, and I mean any market. Technicals are technicals across every market. Forex, commodities, crypto, stocks, options, anything that you can trade, these technicals will ring true through, okay? The only thing that's going to change are the fundamentals, okay? And so if you are a day trader, a Forex trader, scalp trader, you know, swing trader, whatever, in whatever market you are, I promise you the golden opportunity can help you. So let's talk about exactly how we can predict where all-time highs or, you know, where we can see resistance based on the silver chart, okay? So I'm going to take these off and we are going to zoom out to the daily chart. I'm going to show you what is called the trend-based Fibonacci extension. I've talked about this in the past, but I want to talk about it, you know, right now. Okay, so this is the trend-based Fibonacci extension. All you do, I already have this done for you. All you do is you go to the ultimate low that came after a subsequent, you know, massive high. You go to the ultimate low after that high, you pull it to the new high, and then guess what? You pull it to the next ultimate low, and that's what it gives you, is all of your Fibonacci extension levels. And as you can see, we topped out at the 1.0 Fibonacci extension level right here, and then we came back and back tested the 0.618, the golden pocket, baby, at the bottom end of this trend channel, bounced. We got caught up, as you can see, at that 1.0, Fibonacci extension level, and then guess what happened? Big, massive green candle all the way through it, used it as support, came all the way up to the top end of the trend channel. The next logical place that it could be going is $44, right? Obviously, $40 is our target right now, and it's a key psychological level. But what happens whenever you get up to $44 is then you start using that 1.0, or if you want to get really into the weeds on it, you can pull a Fibonacci extension from the 1.0 to the 1.618 and look for your 618 there, and you have at $37.66 your next target that you can see a pullback and then a bounce and then start targeting, $60 on silver. So that's just something that we'll just call it what it is. Pro traders use this. Pro traders know this. This is something I teach inside of the Golden Opportunity. So if it's, those are the types of things that I promise you, they're like cheat codes in the market, man. And I give you, dozens and dozens of things like that inside of the Golden Opportunity. So feel free. I will be there to guide you the entire way. You can banter with me. You can comment. You can ask me questions. All those different types of things because, as we know, the Golden Nugget only happens one time a week. And there's only so much that I can do in one segment, okay? So let's get into the next segment, which is called the market movers. This is what is happening inside of the market that's making the market move. So first off, Russia to China, okay? The surge in gold demand. $80.1 billion in the first half of 2025. That is a record, okay? Russia's precious metal sales to just China, okay? So record exports, and China took that $80.1 billion. Now, if you remember last week, we were talking about how India's imports fell. And I said, hey, do not let one news headline shake you out of your markets. And if you did let it shake you out because you thought gold was going to go down, there's other macroeconomic factors that could make up for that demand. And you're seeing it right here, literally the next week, okay? That is making up for the fall in demand in India. It actually was being exported over to China. And that's why we took a long position and said, hey, we trust our technicals on this, okay? Because there's likely other demand elsewhere that is basically making up for the lower demand that was happening in India. And that's exactly what happened. So as you can see, this is obviously, decreasing their reliance on Western, structures and constructs. Okay. Secondarily, EGO, which is Eldorado Gold, actually just recently got upgraded by IBD to 75 RS. Okay. And that was up from 69. This is, there's about a $21.80 breakout point. So watch that key level to see if Eldorado is going to break out. And then we saw a massive outflow in crypto into the gold markets. As you can see, gold went up, crypto went down by 5%. Crypto is still a risk asset for all intents and purposes, okay? So when you see a 5% drop subsequently inside of crypto, which is a risk asset, Bitcoin, still, and you see the pump in gold, you can see that risk on assets are actually getting the money drained from them and then put into other markets that are safe havens like gold and silver. And even the S&P is like, it keeps gapping up and then parring the gains, gapping up and parring the gains. It almost looks like it's getting pretty toppy here is kind of my point. Can it continue to run? Absolutely. With, economic headwinds and things of that sort to help it. Absolutely it can. You get inflation to go down and you get your rates to go down. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, secondarily, okay, we want to talk about the gold versus the greenback, okay? And that is the US dollar, okay? Now, the US dollar is actually softer, hovering around, this is the DXY index, right? 97.4 to about 97.9, okay? And this is easing treasury yields as well. This is supporting gold's upward trajectory and super cycle. Then Reuters is noting that gold's safe haven appeal and shaky dollar and trade uncertainty is actually helping to bolster that as well. Now, secondarily, we have, and I'll tell you on the economic calendar here in just a second, we have the EU, their rate decision is coming up and they're likely to hold rates. So what did that do? That pushed up and propped up the euro. What happens to the US dollar when the euro does well? Usually it goes down relative to the euro. So when the dollar goes down, gold goes up. See what I mean? So let's talk about the economic calendar and then we'll sign off of here, right? Now, today we have the Eurozone consumer confidence, the preliminary report. Watch for that. And then we have the existing home sales in the United States. Tomorrow, we have on Thursday, the ECB interest rate decision. If they hold rates, they're expected to at 2%. Look at our interest rates and then look at theirs. It's crazy. We're over double them, okay? If they hold those interest rates, the euro is probably going to stay the same. The dollar might fall, right? And then gold could continue to pump. Now, on Friday, there's no major events. And on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, we will probably see flash global PMIs being delivered, okay? This will be released early next week. We don't know what day or time yet. Now, Friday, August 1st is the deadline for the tariffs. You have to pay attention for this next week. Volatility could ensue next week because just because August 1st is the deadline doesn't mean that we're going to reach a deal by August 1st, but it also doesn't mean that we're going to wait until August 1st to reach a deal. We could reach it next Monday, next Tuesday. So be ready. Be ready for the markets, and you have your trades, you have your levels, you know everything that you need to know, at least inside of the gold and silver markets as it sits right now. So with that being said, I can't wait to see everybody next week at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time for, again, the Golden Nugget every single week. Hopefully, this is helpful to you. I appreciate you so much for showing up, whatever platform you're showing up on, because I know we're simulcasting it on 4 different platforms, 4 different accounts. We appreciate you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Imagine waking up every day with freedom. No boss, no clock, just you, your charts, and profit stacking. That is the life of a verified pro trader, and it's exactly how I built mine, by learning to trade gold the right way. I've helped countless members start winning, and now it's your turn. This is your golden opportunity to trade like a pro, live like a boss, and take advantage of the gold super cycle that is transferring wealth like we've never witnessed before. So make this your golden opportunity.